And welcome along to another episode of EOTT, Everything on the Table, with myself, Jimmy James. And today we have a dear brother with us, one of my digital comrades, and a dear brother in arms, Mr. Mark Sleigh. How are you, Mark?
I'm very well, thank you, Jimmy.
Apologies. Good to see you, brother. We've not caught up for a while. Apologies for calling you Mister. Such a bad habit, and I know someone like yourself is fully on board with all the shenanigans of the straw man, but I'm struggling, Mark. The Mister, the Mrs., the Madam, the Sir still keeps coming out to me, even though I know I shouldn't use it, but never mind. That's an aside. How have you been, brother? What have you been up to?
I'm good, mate. I've been studying a lot of the heart and a lot of the magic we put behind our words, so I can feel your heart when you say that, Mister.
Yeah. Thank you.
No worries, bro.
I appreciate it. I'm trying to knock it out of me, but it's that programming, the old NLP, neuro-linguistic. It's lodged deep in there, and it's only, for me, in terms of respect and endearment. But as we know, for a lot of people, they find it quite offensive. So I'm really trying to work on it. But I know you and I are above all that. So give us a bit of background. Mark and I met quite a few synchronicities, really. We were kind of connected on Facebook a few years back, and the beautiful little thing Mark was doing was a bit of urban activism, the chalk of truth, and kind of outside the cancer research shops, not vandalizing the place, just using the old chalk of truth, which can be washed off with a bit of water, but yet very effective, because people are coming to the cancer research shop and seeing all Mark's messages outside, raising awareness of things like the Cancer Act, the fact that we can treat ourselves. I think a few of those videos went viral, it's fair to say, Mark, is that right?
Yeah, I was approaching this from a political angle originally years ago, and one of the activism calls from within, possibly from communication from one of the plants of smoke maybe on that day, was the suggestion of writing on the floor in chalk and naming it the chalk of truth. And yeah, we say we, the collective we, through me as a vessel, wrote on the floor outside that 90% of cancer cells are killed by dandelion, or words to that effect. And yeah, that went viral to 100,000 people. And a few of the videos I've done as well, talking to Cancer Research UK executive and one of the frontline staff. They've gone to a few thousand, good tens of thousands of people as well, which does raise the awareness. But we're going on for years now. We've all been chipping away at this, and we can still see the same issue going round and round in circles. So it's time now for us to up our game, because their game has not changed as such. I say they, it's we are all one. Even those silly people in government are us. But yeah, that's where I came from, that side of my political activism. But yeah, the background to myself, I build bicycle tracks, so BMX and mountain bike tracks, from very basic small jumps to international size BMX jumps and mountain bike jumps. But yeah, the rest of the time I'm doing sound healing, or just being with myself and my family and friends and loved ones.
Making the most of life, and it's easy for us to get distracted and pulled into, raising awareness, truther, and all this kind of stuff. And it is, especially with social media, it can be very, very immersive and absorbing, but we have to take the time sometimes, Mark, right, to, just as you say, you've got the beautiful dog there, the beautiful family, just to make sure that we take the time to kind of enjoy what we've got, because otherwise, what's it all for, right? Yeah.
I mean, as I see, I'm stroking Lucy Pups on the head. She's without doubt as well. Anyone that's suffering depression, I highly recommend getting a dog if you can make that commitment. She's helped save my life, and to spend time with the dog, with my family, with all my friends is invaluable. And as you say, that's what we're doing it for. And if we don't balance the work of being, looking at the truth and sharing awareness and helping heal others, yeah, we lose that balance, and we lose that, get disconnected again from our family, from our loved ones, and that's not good. So we must stay connected in all ways possible. as you say, because otherwise it's a distraction. And we do see way too many people that are in the truth movement and get stuck in the pre-planned ruts that are there for everybody within consciousness, that they get so focused on the truth and the discovery, they don't balance it with the healing. And they get too stuck into a place of darkness without the equivalent or the relative level of healing within themselves. And their emotional body then is open and prone to being attacked by the spiritual forces at play with that level of truth. So that's a big teaching of my own as well. You know, I've learned the hard way from years and years ago, stepping into politics, etc. While shouting about shamanism, I was firing out big shots at big people, and not having the relevant level of healing done with myself. I was attacked spiritually, etc., by very powerful forces, and I had to learn the hard way through ayahuasca and psilocybin and all the other shamanic work and the beautiful people that have been guiding me through that work from Peru and in this country and elsewhere. To really find out what is at play and why, when we start looking at the truth of the collective, that we have to be in sovereign control of our own truth and our own healing, our complete control of our emotional body, so that we are protected by our own healing, via our own healing, to be able to deal with that level of truth. In that movie, is it Your Ego Can't Handle the Truth or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, some words like that ring from something that it is about being able to handle certain truths. That when we can overload people with that. When we went to the conference, bro. A couple of ladies, they were overloaded with truth from a certain person, and it made them cry. And we've got to be very careful when we're sharing truth, as well as a collective. People that are sharing these truths of what's going on in the world, that we balance it with healing information, so that the person, and humour as well. So like Max Egan, very humorous delivery of the harshest shit in the world.
Yeah,
it's amazing, and he balances it with humour and also with the solutions as well. So it's perfect delivery of how that can be done, and why we've got to balance all of that with pure love and with our family and a holistic approach to solving this, because we are sovereign, we're not alone, and we can support one another to get through what we've got to get through, man.
This is it. We've got some stuff to get through, but we are all together, and although we are there is a lot of division. This is you're talking about us all doing a little bit. This is just my little bit with the podcast, trying to essentially, I'm talking to like yourself, like Max Egan and Mark Sleigh and John Wedger, and these are things that I have found throughout my journey that have shone a bit of light on different issues and circumstances and situations that we find ourselves in. And a lot of it is I talk about it, Mark, and I say it all the time, but I'll say it again, this whole woke. I don't subscribe to any of that nonsense. It's all ego. Like, woke, there's a spectrum of awakening. That's how I see it. We're all on different levels of this spectrum, and I've been crediting a phrase which my good friend Wally uses. We're all just walking each other home. I found out he would have had that from Ram Dass, which is a lovely expression. We are all just walking each other home, and everyone's at different points. And I know you're very much like myself, Mark. You've delved deep into the multiple rabbit holes and seen it for what it is, and now we're just trying to raise awareness, but in a way that's constructive and cohesive. And as you say, it's not about, I'm certainly guilty in times gone by of just pumping information out there, and some of it's too much for some people, because it's easy. If I've spent, for example, a good couple of years studying the whole paedophilia stuff and all that, it's deep and it's dark and it's bloody horrible. Some people, just the word puts them into their shell, just the word paedophile. Oh, I don't want to know. And you're like, so I had to get to grips with that and censor myself really, because the last thing you want to do is kind of, I have shared somebody talking about it in the terms of it is kind of a form of black magic, so to speak, when you're trying to force those views on other people, kind of thing. Everything comes to everybody, comes to everybody at the right time. So what I'm hoping is by having such a nice broad spectrum of people on, that people will come along to the channel for whatever their specific field of interest or their specific person of interest is, and then see all the other different video titles and think, oh, that's intriguing, let me have a look. Or some of them think, oh no, I don't know about that. And as you say, yeah, we can all just, everyone can do something, you know what I mean? So for those who don't really want to get into the darkness, the nitty gritty, a lot of those people are kind of active and productive in other ways, you know, as you say, community groups and raising awareness and all this kind of stuff. And this is what I'm trying to do, cohesion. There's so many different groups, you know, their own specific fields of interest, and this causes division, and there's no reason why all these different groups can't coalesce and work together on many different kind of, you know, projects. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. It's respecting each other's skills and keys and areas. You know, everyone's got their own area of expertise, and to truly master something takes a lifetime. You know, really to truly master something, or at least, you know, 25, 30 years maybe to become a true master of something. So we've got to respect that we can't master everything. So we have to look for others that have mastered that, not to be our master, but to help be a guide to share their teachings of what they've learned.
Yes.
And if we can approach everybody with that mutual respect within the community, that we're all equal, that we all have our own specific magic. And some people have struggled to find that because of the world that we live in. That's not their fault. It's their responsibility to find their magic, their own, and embrace it and start using it and find motivation from the heart to do so. But yeah, we've got to acknowledge that, we're all walking around with these magical key rings with amazing tools for each of our keys. Some people haven't quite found theirs yet, but for those of us that have found them, we can help the others activate their keys on their key ring, and then they walk around and share their keys with other people and vice versa. And it's just a continual activation and showing everybody how to do it themselves as well. So that we are not putting, if we're helping others in this way, putting the onus on the person being the guide to show others, you know, how they do it, you know, for them to do it for them rather. Showing them how they do it for the person to do it themselves, so that we're, you know, sharing that data freely, I feel is the best way, so everybody can set up their own little websites, maybe, as you say, like your own YouTube channel. Share everybody. I feel we should all share our information freely, and then exchange resources and our time, you know, for actual experiences in our person, and then we exchange that on an energy level. And going forward, that is definitely the best way, I feel, to operate as, you know, as people. And that comes directly from psilocybin as well. That I was in a bit of a tricky space once many moons ago, and it took about half an hour for me to hear the words clearly. And I light a bit of mapacho when I say it. So I give thanks to the medicine teachers and beyond the veil and the plant spirits. And indeed, the words from psilocybin were clear as day one, which were, value what you do, yet share it freely. So I integrate that myself within my own work as such, as share what I do freely with information. So I wouldn't go expecting energy exchange for giving out information, because that, you know, we receive that from the universe.
Yeah.
Who are we to put intellectual property upon something that we receive from consciousness, or from the plants, or from the animals, or from the trees, or from, you know, wherever we're receiving this information from? Yet then value what we do, you know, value our time, you know, value what we do. So you know, to expect somebody to you know, to then work with you, you know, we've got to expect an energy exchange of some form or another. But, yeah.
Yes, thanks, Mark. And I hear what you're saying there. You know, chatting with Dr. Wong the other day, and it seems now a lot of people are ready to move towards this kind of service-based society where we're all just, you know, giving service to each other, and that will feed back. Then, you know, and people talk about. I know a little bit about, you know, political kind of ideas and stuff. But when you start talking like this, people say, "Oh, but communism, bloody communist." It's like, take all your labels away, take all your pigeonholing away. At the end of the day, like, there is no. It's just how I see it personally. Like, beyond, you know, we're in this, you know, as Dr. Wong says, this virtual reality simulator type effort, which is kind of what it is. And it's been structured to a certain way, which serves the interests of a few and leaves, you know, the large majority in a state of, you know, massive disparity, unhappiness, poverty, and all the rest of it, when there is, like, absolutely no need for it. And everything is there for us. It was always there for us. So beyond kind of, for me personally anyway, food, shelter, and good company, and perhaps, you know, bit of a pacho and, you know, the good stuff and all the rest of it, what do we really need? All the infrastructure is already there. It just kind of needs to be repurposed. So what has been coming up, what I'd like to jump into, because I've got my medical notes here from when I was sectioned, but we discussed it briefly before the recording, and I'll just revisit it. The case of Carol Woods. Carol Woods is a fantastically brave woman, has been blowing the whistle on the social services shenanigans up in her area up north, and currently finds herself sectioned under the Mental Health Act. No warrant, no legitimate grounds for it. I've been speaking, myself and Needle Berry and a few others have been speaking to her on the phone live from the hospital. She's the most coherent person you'll ever speak to. It's an absolute disgrace, and this is what's happening left, right, and centre. And Carol is arguably higher profile. You know, I was talking to John Wedger last night about, you know, targeted individuals and gang stalking and all this kind of other stuff which is going on. It's so it seems. And I've got on the ground experience of when they've got you locked away. If they want to keep you locked away for no one to see you, they can do it. And Mark was an absolute legend in 2017, and he was trying his best to come and see me, as we've been trying to do with Carol Woods. And I've got my medical records. I put a request in to have them sent out. So it's quite amusing, actually, but I'll read it out, the notes they put in there. So it says, this is the 14th of December at 2 o'clock, and it says, telephone call received to the ward from James's friend Mark Sleigh, demanding that he have access to James to perform spiritual healing with frankincense, myrrh, and gold. Mark stated that this was his and James's sovereign right going back 3,000 years, with Mark stating that he does not acknowledge the NHS or the UK government, and neither do I. I'm sure there'll be many others who feel the same. Mark stated that James would not consent to any pharmaceutical therapies given. It's force injected and forced to take other medication under the threat of being manhandled and injected. Mark was informed by ward staff that James's care would not be discussed due to confidentiality over the phone, GDPR, very convenient, and that no consent had been given by James. Mark asked for ward visiting times and instantly stated that he could not attend these times as he did not recognise structured visiting hours, my guy, and then requested a time where he could attend and asked that staff return his call within the hour. Staff informed Mark that the concern stated would be passed on to the nurse in charge and the MDT. Sister Gail was informed, who promptly returned Mark's telephone call, where Mark advised of the visiting times, to which she acknowledged and requested he would be able to bring his drums and didgeridoo, and upon visiting would engage in singing songs within the ward for spiritual healing. Sister Gail reiterated to Mark the visiting hours of the ward and that he was more than welcome to visit, but due to the acuity of PICU environment, because it was a high-intensity care ward in the mental health hospital, that large instruments would not be allowed on the ward. Mark then expressed that he would then take legal recourse to the High Court before the telephone call was concluded. So bless your brother, because, you know, it was the most horrific experience, and not just for me, for my family and everyone else. And you were there, brother. You were there. You had my back, and you know that goes both ways. You know, we've got each other's backs all the way, and it's not just us two. There's plenty and plenty and plenty of other people, and so many other people fighting my corner. But it just brings it all back, Mark. You know, reading that and seeing Carol Woods in this position now, and she's not the only one. There's plenty of others. It's not a good situation, unfortunately, we find ourselves in. And I do feel the need to raise awareness with people who are not fully clued up onto what is out there and what can go down, because by raising awareness of these important issues, if it goes against the grain of the system and the establishment, then these are the tools that they can use against you, and you can just be whisked off. They can just come to your house and essentially kidnap you. They say, we think that you're a concern, you're a danger to yourself and others, and you say, I'm absolutely fine, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not saying I was absolutely fine then, because I wasn't. But if they were to just come this morning, I would knock the door, I would say, hang on a minute now, I'm absolutely fine, there's nothing wrong with it. They say, well, we think that you aren't, therefore we're going to arrest you and take you away. Mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I mean, I nearly got sectioned once or twice when I was dealing with the psychiatric team in Birmingham a few years ago on my own journey of going crazy at the system. I'd say one of my protections came from listening to the advice, following the advice, the guidance from Michael Tellinger of Ubuntu, who in one of the first videos I observed of him way back, 2012 it was, where he said your ultimate protection is to share everything.
Yes, this is it.
Immediately. A few years later though, I advised Michael personally to do the same thing with information he had, but he didn't.
There we go.
And then his life took a little bit turn for the worse a few months later. I was like, I personally feel you should have followed your own advice there, Mike. So, yeah, I personally feel for myself on a spiritual and physical level, I've helped protect myself from being sectioned because of what I've shared over the years in total openness. And indeed, even on my social media, you know, I've shared everything that everyone gets banned for all the time, but I've never been banned. Why is that? I'm not wishing for a ban from social media, but certain people, for certain reasons, get protected in certain ways. And then, like myself, I don't get protected in certain ways, and then I have to learn those lessons as well. Yeah. You know, we have to acknowledge where we have been protected and think, no, we've done that well. Not right or wrong, but we've done that well. So we share that information with others. So yeah, everybody share everything. They can't lock us all up. They really can't.
This is how I feel, Mark.
Saying the same thing. If everybody starts acknowledging this to begin with, so that everyone has the spiritual support of their family. That was one of the big things that was, you know, at the time for myself back then missing. Not anymore, because we've healed that within our family. So I'm feeling strong now, really strong, from a, you know, foundational point of view, spiritually and emotionally, very strong. But back then, my family thought I was going fucking nuts. To a degree, I was. But you know, that nearly got me sectioned, and that could have been fucking worst thing. Excuse my French. The worst thing ever to have happened to me, because you know, put anybody on those drugs, and you could be off a very slippery slope to a big cliff. But yeah, share everything so openly, and really step it up as well. I mean, I'm constantly still emailing the government, and when I do so, I copy in all the local press, the newspapers, the TV and radio. And I'm constantly trying to arrange meetings with them still. So that it's like in the X-Files to a degree, you know, really if everyone tries to put that level of input into their own reality, you might see the dark side in the quantum saying, you can't go locking that one up. You can't go locking that one because you'll make a march out of them if you do. Everyone will go, hold on a minute, what are they doing? because all their friends and their distant friends will start to come out of the woodwork. Then they go, oh, so I really do feel if people feel confident. Oh, sorry, my battery.
That's all right.
If people feel confident with the support structure around them, they should go and keep sharing as much deep truth as possible. But they've got to balance it with that healing, because it is a game of chess, and we can look at higher consciousness and higher self, how that moves our chessboard for our advantage. But also, if people are emotionally wounded and they go trying to fire these big shots at government, being a hero truther as such, they can get their matrix shifted in the wrong way by some very heavy entities that can be at play, and they can be on a nasty slope. So it's it's lessons learned that we've got to share with everybody. We've got to share those teachings.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. And all I was thinking, I was strong like bull. And it is about being strong, but we are only strong together. We can be strong individually, but it's collectively is where our strength comes from. And, I've got a good group of people I'm in communication with at the moment, doing some good work and raising awareness of, what's going on. And I think it is important not only to do things like this, just conversations between ourselves where we're just discussing our own thoughts, stream of consciousness stuff, but also doing kind of personal affidavits or personal statements of, if things have happened to you, if crimes have been committed against you, or just your testimony on how you see things. And by putting all that out there, as you say, it's out there for public record. Then once you put something out there online, it's not going anywhere. They can delete it, but once it's been downloaded and disseminated to multiple people, you're never going to be able to suppress it. And this does seem to be where people are coming to now, this kind of affidavit stuff and putting stuff out there, because there's a lot of common law stuff coming to the fore. People trying to find, remedy for the position we find ourselves in, which leads me on to what I wanted to ask you about your experience relatively recently of trying to get access to medicinal cannabis through your doctor. Tell us a bit about that, if you would, Mark.
That was so weird. I was literally just holding in the patcho, feeling we really need to discuss recently at the end of the scenario when I went to the doctors about me poking a police sergeant in the heart, telling him what real law is, and him not being able to rebut me or stand down or to stand over me at all. Yeah. So yeah, with before that, we just visit tobacco.
Yes, indeed.
Father to
yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Before we look at the smoking of cannabis, the use of cannabis, we all must address the relationship we have with tobacco. Now, there is different information out there, obviously, but the data I personally resonate with and I personally work with and recommend to people is that we treat the tobacco plant as being a male spirit. So we approach the plant and we invoke or look to connect or commune with the male spirit of the plant, whose name is Mapacho, or grandfather tobacco, or father tobacco, or whatever name we may feel comes through our meditation when we commune with that side of the plant. There is also a female spirit to the plant who's Nicotina, or nicotine, and she's addictive, and the negative side of the tobacco plant. Now, Andy Nix, one of my friends, had an epiphany of the French name Claude and Claudette. Right. Claude being the male, Claudette being the female. Cigar, cigar-ette. Cigar, exhale, like Mapacho, smoke properly, yeah?
Yeah.
And then cigarette, in between fingers, the difference in holding with the thumb connection, compared to the I'm smoking a fag, that different energy, connecting with Mapacho, or smoking fag ash lil, So we got the et at the end, bringing the feminine, cigar or cigarette, Claudette. a beautiful affirmation of the naming of cigar and cigarette to distinguish between the exhale only, or the swallowing of the smoke, or the ingestion of a paste made from pacho, or a tobacco snuff, proper sacred shamanic tobacco snuff applied up the nose. That's how we work with tobacco, and we shouldn't be inhaling it. That's a westernized bastardization of tobacco. And I am now thankful to be able to say I no longer engage tobacco in that way. It's got goosebumps as I said that. Yeah, I'm really, really pleased with my own journey over all these years to now be able to say I no longer inhale tobacco. So I no longer invoke the female entity from that plant, and I only work with grandfather Mapacho. So we call upon Mapacho to help everybody that's viewing this data and this information to protect them, contain them from the NHS at the moment, because of the story I'm just about to tell you. We'll show you the reflection of where their consciousness is at, and how we can raise all of our awareness to be able to bring the NHS up to a level of consciousness ready to be able to accept everybody growing their own cannabis.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That's all it takes is one puff and our complete belief and faith that this information is now completely cloaked and protected through pure conduits of consciousness channels with the assistance of grandfather Pacho, the proper sacred use of the tobacco plant. It was well funny. I went down to the doctors to test out, the old medical cannabis is now available on prescription. So I went down with my wife, and she had a separate appointment with the doctors. And I sat with the doctor and I said, medical cannabis is now legal. Is there any chance I could please have a prescription for raw organic cannabis flower, so I can make my own medicines or smoke it or do whatever I wish with that raw organic flower to be able to make into my own medicines, because it helps me. It helps balance my diagnosed bipolar and my diagnosed psychosis and my diagnosed now schizophrenia and all these other bullshit labels they try and come up with to label upon a spiritually awakening person. Yeah. I said it helps balance all those. And she inquired, she says, well, have you smoked today? And I said, well, yeah, I had a little puff this morning, and I had literally three totes and a very, very microdose joint, so hardly anything at all. And she said, well, have you got here today? I said, oh, driven a car just around the corner, not even thinking what she was going to say.
Yeah, stitch up.
And she went, oh, you seem really manic. And I was like, well, I'm in a good mood. I don't recognise manic. I mean, what the fuck is manic? Who can diagnose manic? What is that?
Yeah.
Especially from someone who doesn't know me, within 3 minutes of meeting me for the first time in their life. Not like a regular doctor, I'll go and see her or anything. Exactly. And she went, oh, you're manic. You shouldn't be driving a car. I was like, what? I don't know. And the conversation earlier as well was that, because the Prime Minister's husband, trying to cut a long story short.
No, I take your time, brother.
Prime Minister's husband's growing cannabis, so why can't we have it? And the other part of the conversation was, how are you, Mark? Generally speaking, I said, well, okay, but I just acknowledged this morning I'm doing it to get the metal out of my face because it, the mercury. And it was just part of the input to her to be able to put on my records of Mark wants to take the mercury out of his teeth because he thinks it's making his health at times not as good as it could be. That's all I was saying that for. But it ended up then she called in a colleague, his male doctor, and then literally looked at me up and down and went, "You're manic." I thought,
what gave it away? What gave it away?
Infrared shamanic eyes that can scan my entire energy field and go, yeah, you're in a manic state of consciousness, brother. What? Anyway, he says, yeah, you're manic. You shouldn't be driving the car. We're ringing the police. So they rang the police. I was like, whoa. So, you know what, guys? I'm not going into psychosis. I'm perfectly fine. you guys are the crazy ones. You're nuts. I'm getting the fuck out of here, because if a policeman comes in here, they might be trigger happy with a taser, and that shit will kill you.
Yeah.
See you later. And I walked straight out. And they were all in there. I was like, oh my God. I thought, these guys are crazy, man. Wow. And walked off laughing my ass off out of the doctor's surgery. Walked up to the car, drove home 20 miles an hour, safe as safe could be. You know, my driving brother, an expert level motorsport person from years back. I know how to drive a car.
Yeah.
And so sat at home. Next thing I can hear is police sirens. Police car, whong, past the house.
Whoa, whoa, that's the sound of the police.
Whoop, whoop, the sound of the let me just put this on charge. 2 seconds, don't you?
Yeah, carry on with that. Sushi.
So yeah, one police car goes flying by, another one goes flying by. You know, this is cars being driven at 40 miles an hour or more, with blue lights on, flashing, driving around at 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning. To then finally turn up outside here. I was, oh my God! At which point my wife's walking up the road, because I had to flee the scene quickly, and I said to wifey to stay there to try and sort those people out, and she concluded they were nuts as well. But yeah, the police, swooped upon me here as I sat here rolling another joint. So I invited the police sergeant in. I said, yeah, come on in, bro. And I explained the whole situation. After I asked him, I said, who are you representing in this moment, brother, before we start to speak of this scenario? I said, are you representing we the people on your oath? Or are you representing the Crown, brother? And he says, well, I'm representing the Crown. I says, you want to stand right down from that, bro, or I'll arrest your ass right now. You represent me and we the people. You do not represent that Crown. If you say that again, I will arrest you right now. Do you understand? And he said, yeah, I understand. And then explained the full scenario to him. At which point, by the end, I was hugging him outside saying, look, bro, this car is untaxed. That car is untaxed. Anyone come here or any point try and pursue myself over this tax, I will arrest them. And I'll summon the next police officer from the station. And if they don't back me, we will summon the next police sergeant until we get to the chief. We will not pay this tax. And I explained clear as day, we will start to grow cannabis in this house now. I grow mushrooms already. I've told the government that. And all they've done is recommend that I don't do that. I said, they can recommend all the fuck they want, brother. I says, I'm not causing any harm. I said, when I cause harm, you can call me a criminal. Until then, I am no criminal. And you need to represent me and actually help protect me and my family. And actually recognize that this medicine helps cure cancers, helps heal people's diseases, and is absolutely essential part of our diet. And he got the God's honest truth and had to agree with me, and didn't like admitting that we have the power of arrest, but he did. And he stood under me when I said, no, bro, you come here again, and if you were to be representing the Queen and Crown, I'd arrest you. And that's the level of authority within ourselves that we need to be able to tackle these issues, all of these issues, is to be the author of our own scenario, to be in that position of knowing exactly what's going on, play the role a lot, play it a lot, play the jester, let's be part of this act of God. Let's be actors and play our role fully, and in each moment really bring to the forefront, like on that phone call to the nut house, bring to the forefront of these people's consciousness exactly what they do. Yeah. And let them awaken themselves if they so see free to do so, or choose to stay ignorant. But either way, we're not going away, and we're just going to up our game and up our game and up our game.
It's something you do quite a bit, Mark, isn't it? Talking to police, and they're not always receptive, but it's fair to say, and I think it's probably a lot to do with your approach and how you conduct yourself and how you put yourself across. But I think I saw when you were talking to the armed guard outside Westminster, I think he was quite receptive, wasn't he? You were talking about DMT and he agreed. And yeah, I think you won't get it with all of them. And there's certainly no good, you know, you see these videos of people trying to practice their common law rights, and you know, they get pulled over and they start getting lippy and chopsy with the police, you know, so the car stuff. It's not the way to do it, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, they are just doing a job. A lot of them are good people, there are bad ones in there, and a lot of them are super indoctrinated because of the training they get. You know, I was chatting to John Wedger last night, and you know, he's been in the force for a long time, or was in the force for a long time, and you were telling me about the way things have changed. You know, we're talking about how it's changed from a constabulary, the bobbies on the beat, community policing, where there was a bit of cohesion. Now it's very much there's just like a police force and the public. And you know, I think a lot of people do agree. We do need police, so we do need some kind of, certainly now and during the transition period, if things are going to change to a different kind of style of society, whatever, you know, you do need that kind of, if something goes down. But the way that they are operating at the moment is just, they're just private corporations, and they're not really. And I said, this is not attacking any individuals. That's not what it's about. It's about recognizing what the system has become and what these, you know, nobody joins the police force. Well, some probably do, but most of them join because they want to do good. They want to help people. And then they get chewed up by the system. And you just have to listen to Dave Eden. Dave Eden was a Met police officer who did a whistleblowing expose with Brian Gerrish on UK Column. And, you know, he says, I joined with the best of intentions. And when I got in there, it was a case of the culture was essentially you either became a bully or you would be bullied, and he admits he became a bully, and that was, you know, how he operated himself. And you know, fair play to him, he's coming out now and releasing
coping mechanism.
Yes, indeed, yeah. And I think, you know, now he's come out and he's shared this information, whistleblowing as they call it, and yeah. But I've met, you know, decent ones, and as I said, it's the same in any walk of life, whether a police officer or any other thing. Some people are just closed to any new information which doesn't fit with their understanding of the universe, cognitive dissonance, all that kind of stuff, which that's understandable. That is how we operate as human beings. We can be programmed, and to deprogram is quite a mission. And some stuff is easier than others. You know, you talk about, you know, peeling off the layer. You peel off one, another two end up coming on, and it's just, yeah, it is. But oh, calm down, Lucy. It is, I feel, I'm sure you feel the same. It's kind of a moral obligation, isn't it? If you find yourself in a position where you can share a bit of information, it might fall on open ears to somebody who is open and receptive, then you just put it out there, or even just planting seeds. You know, Harry was saying, my friend Harry Matading, I'm pretty sure you know as well, was talking about some people need to hear a message, like he said 7 times. She might hear something, no, that doesn't fit, and then hear it again, and I've heard this quite a few times now, perhaps I need to have a little look into it, you know, that kind of scenario. So
that's interesting. No, that's cool.
Yeah.
And the more we do share that authentic data as well, that really resonates. So straight away, you don't need that 7 almost for some pieces of data. It just sits, and the more we and the more our guidance systems working better, and the more that information just comes to us in floods and floods and floods, so we can just quickly decipher through and discern through the information. But that's another good key as well, is to find good people that share solid information 90% of the time, so we can help accelerate the awakening of others, so we can accelerate then past our own point of awakening. So there's no competition whatsoever, just an acknowledgement of our level of energy and our level of awakening, and treating like a spider's web, and we're all going towards the center, and we can help awaken people that we find in that web, and then throw them way up in front of us for them to learn more than us and get more skills than us, and then they reach back to us and throw us back up then in front of us. So it's not, I've referred to that over all of my working with others.
Yeah.
Leapfrogging effect.
Love that. Yeah.
We're helping each other up. So the only time we're looking down on another is to help them up.
Yeah. It's a nice analogy, it is, and that's exactly how it works, you know. It's easy, I think, and I'm probably guilty of this myself. With times gone by, you just think, I know so much information, but the more you learn, the less you know, which is, you know, and then somebody who can be kind of new to the fold, so to speak, with kind of awakening to information, will then just boom, and they're gone. And my friend Larry he's near enough twice my age, maybe a little bit less, and kind of, he was very instrumental. It got me into David Icke back in 2008 and Arthur Findlay and all this kind of stuff. And he was like, oh, I've been on this road for quite a while now. I said, no, he said, you go out and find some stuff and I can bring it back to me, you know. And that's our kind of relationship that has been over the years. And it is nice because, as you say, everyone's got their own different fields of interest, and the more that's found and brought to the table, we can see more of the picture and get more of the Stefik, I suppose, calls it, weaving the cosmic tapestry. I like that, you know, just getting all the information out there.
It's keeping it varied as well, because you can see people that have got stuck into certain subjects, like flat Earth is a perfect example.
Yeah.
You know, there's some guys, and I blocked one or two of them a few weeks ago, even though I wasn't friends with them anymore, but just to totally isolate them for their own healing, for just peace of heart that they're not connected to him in any way. But yeah, you see it on that social media that people get stuck so much into one subject, they get blinkered, and they, you know, even, you know, whatever level of truth there is within each theory and subject, if we only focus upon that one, we are missing the holistic approach. And everything's got to be that balance of holistic approach, and there's going to be, you know, much more magic to be learned with that variety. And variety is the spice of life. I mean, McKenna, with 3 enemies of the people, one of the enemies being monotony. You know, boring old, same old, you know, 9 till 5 regime, blah, 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 all that monotony. Quite funny coming from a guy with monotone voice of McKenna. Although he did a very, I love his voice.
I do as well, yeah.
No, we've got to be varied though, you know, we've got to have that variety, that spice of life, otherwise we stagnate. So more movement, the better.
That's it, isn't it? Keep it moving, keep it moving, keep it moving. I was chatting to a wonderful fella the other day, Daryl Bickler. Daryl was qualified solicitor in the UK, and he's been active in drugs policy reform for about 16 years. And you could check out his episode, I think it's number 7, to get a bit more of a background. But there's an interesting conversation which I wanted to bring to you to kind of, you know, get into it a little bit more. Was, you know, you've touched upon Theresa May there, GW Pharmaceuticals. I've mentioned it multiple times in different podcasts, so people will know about that situation. But how they're trying to structure it now with regards to kind of like MAPS getting licensed. So MAPS is help me out, brother, MAPS is a psychedelic research. What does it stand for? Is it multi-agency? Or is that?
Multidiscipline agency, something of psychedelic, something other.
Yeah. Well, I'll put a link in the description box for people to check out. But essentially, what it seems to be now is we're seeing clinical studies going on with psilocybin and LSD and MDMA and all this kind of stuff. And the way he sees it is that they're kind of trying to structure it with, oh, well, we're going to legalize it now for clinical use. You know, they're talking like maybe even like a 20-year window where, you know, it'll be clinical use for a little while, then it'll be religious use, and then it'll be personal use. He's like, you're really missing the point there of what the psychedelic experience is all about. You can't just pigeonhole it as, well, we're just going to use it in a clinical setting. But it's like, it is what it is. It's the whole, you know, talk about it, whatever terminology you want to use, religious, spiritual, raising consciousness, entering into ourselves, exploring, you know, different dimensions. There's all this, it all means the same thing. It's ultimately that experience. And if you, as you, Terence McKenna says, you take 5 grams of, we recommend people taking drugs, which we'll get onto that in a bit because we've had our own downfalls of falling into that, which is what this will lead on to. But yeah, they're trying to do it so that, oh yeah, it's going to be, we're allowed to use it for this amount of time for clinical studies, then it'll be allowed to, then it'll be religious people will be allowed to use it, or for religious ceremonies, and then it'll eventually get to personal use. And it's like, this is absolute horseshit. And what he's done is kind of, through his relationship with a fella called the Wizard, Casey, was looked into it and saw that the law as it stands with the legal acts and statutes. Intruders.
Sorry, listeners with headphones on.
I know, that's all right. I can chop that bit out. It's fine.
Yeah, if you can edit that.
Yeah, I'll chop that out. I'll chop that bit out. That's no problem. So yeah, and what he's found is that the title of the video is "Illegal Drugs Do Not Exist." You know, it's not the substances; it's us that is illegal as the possessors. You know, and that's why certain people are allowed to possess it, whether that be police officers, forensic people. You know, these studies that are going on now. So it's very interesting. It's quite complex, but a lot of people will get it straight away. I kind of was pretty much fully resonating with everything he was saying. But it's just such a twisted, you know, understanding of what this is all about. You know, the access to being able to explore your own sovereign consciousness, which then leads me on to what I wanted to say was, so for example, it's mushroom season at the moment. Mark, as I'm sure you're aware, I dare you might well have been out exploring. I've not had a chance myself yet, but you know, my uncle introduced me to the wonder of the Welsh magic mushroom. God, I must have only been about 13 or 14, and kind of went out picking. I think we picked about 2,000, made a magic mushroom brew, and a few of my close friends, you know, we didn't know what we were doing, but we were explorers. We were, you know, we did what we always did, and yeah, powerful experiences. But one of them, my friend, I'm sure you won't mind me mentioning him, I'll use his nickname, Cum. He had, I'll just give a quick little bit of background just so you understand what actually happened. We made the brew. It was the three of us at the flat at my mate's house. We'd had a cup each of the brew because you can't quite gauge, you know, you cook up 2,000 mushrooms in a pot with some water. It's very rudimentary. And we'd had a cup each. We were waiting for the effects for the effects to kind of kick in. And one of our friends came back from town quite drunk. He said, "Oh, I'll have a cup, I'll have a cup." I said, "Oh, you probably shouldn't. You're quite pissed." He said, "Oh, go on, I'll have one. On your own head be it then," kind of thing. You know, we were only kids at the time. Probably if you'd been out drinking, we were probably a bit older actually thinking about it, probably 15. And yeah, so he has his cup kind of 10 minutes later. He's like, "I can't feel anything. I want another cup." He's like, whoa. Hang fire now, brother. I said, "We all had a cup like half an hour ago. Give it a little while to kick in." No, I want another cup. Pestered and pestered. Well, you're probably going to be wrecked off 2 cups, so it's up to you, but crack on. He has the 2 cups, you know. 20 minutes later, he wants the 3rd cup. We're like, "Now listen, you're not having the fucking 3rd cup, excuse my French, but sort yourself out." Really, I think he snuck himself a 3rd cup while I was in the toilet. And long story short, yeah, you know what's coming. He was in the bathroom all night, wrapped around the toilet. He was in a hell of a state, and I was going in and checking on him, and he went deep, like deeper than he needed to. I know that unexpected, because once you're in, and I said this to Harry, like, the whole thing of taking psychedelics is you're committed. Once you're in, you're in. There's none of this, "Oh, I don't like this, can I get off please?" It's like, you know, buckle up because you're in for the ride. And that experience changed him. He was never the same again. He was always still our mate. It was always something different. I think it was such a powerful inner journey that he just wasn't expecting, that something changed him. And I'm not going to say you changed him for the worse or changed him for the better, but just something changed. And this is the problem now. Like, you know, Darryl was talking about, if we just legalized all substances so you could have ayahuasca in the corner shop. He said you'd have people going back home on a Friday night after 10 pints in a curry and doing ayahuasca. He said, and then chatting to Jacob Hawley about the different structures of Scandinavian models with regards to drugs being a health issue rather than a criminal issue, and all these different things. We need to be pulling all the most effective models together. And like, it's not recommended obviously for developing adults or, you know, teenagers to take any of these substances really. But for older people, you know, once the brain's fully developed and, you know, there's no kind of mental health issues or symptoms or any of that, then we should all be, for those who are wanting to and have got that kind of yearning within them to explore themselves. But, you know, there's so much demonization of LSD and it will drive you crazy and all this. There needs to be, excuse me, not just these clinical settings, because, you know, I'm sure you'll agree, Mark, taking psychedelics in a clinical setting must be quite disconcerting. You know, you're not in your zone, you're not in your comforts. You know, they're putting them in, you know, MRI scanners and things like that. And I understand, obviously, we are trying to find answers from a scientific perspective, but I can't imagine that's a pleasant experience, taking psychedelics inside a bloody big MRI scanner. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, they're being very disrespectful as well of the ancient practice of using these substances in a sacred way. Treating them not as substances, but treating them as an entheogenic sacrament, a sacred medicine or a sacred molecule or a sacred plant extract, and using it as a tool of divination to commune with spirit, with God, with Mother Earth, and to heal and to bring magic and celebration. And it's just an echo of the Western bullshit way that we approach these things. We need to stop doing the same stupid things over and over again. And we need to look at the people in the world that know how to work with these substances. And it's stamped upon their DNA that, you know, people like myself, we had that calling from a very early age, very, very early age. You know, I used to enter into a dream state by picking up a toy and going stiff with it when I was a little boy, until I was 10, 11 years old or something. And I'd go into a dream state, and that's like a meditative state. In the wrong way, I needed obviously a spiritual guide in that time to have told me to relax and sit in a meditative way. But I was still altering my consciousness, and then ending TV scenarios or looking at life and ending scenarios of a life situation within my own being in that state. And, you know, when we start to recognize the healers within our culture, those that have got, you know, that bigger percentage of the shamanic DNA stamped within them, which is just, you know, is what is within certain people. So everyone's got that inner shaman within them to heal themselves and work with these substances. It's just how much of that percentage and what of our path is destined to be with that within our matrix. And, you know, we can really embrace that from an early age then. If, you know, like they do in Peru, you know, there'll be kids over there 8, 9 years old having little sips of wachuma, the cactus. You know, they'll be working with that from an early age. If they're of the lineage, and, you know, the medicine people there will say, yeah, you know, they're working with the child from an early age, and they'll say, yeah, it's pretty obvious this person's going to be a wachuma shaman. And they'll work with that sacrament from an early age without a single issue at all.
I think the difference is, Mark, just a quick interjection if I may, in tribal societies, those telltale signs will become apparent and they will be taken, and in this society you're deemed as ADHD or bipolar or schizophrenic, and off you go, medicated and all the rest of it. Such a polar opposite, isn't it?
Yeah. So when we start to look at that, and then we go, okay, right, we need to look at the regulation and the control of these substances properly and these plants properly, and take advantage of them properly as well, so that if they're good, which they are, the majority of them are, we can use that good for the benefit of everybody around us. And we need to not look at it in a scientific way at all, really. Go in a totally spiritual way. So scientific, no. Religious, no. Recreational, well, yes, but no. We need to just look at this as a shamanic perception, really, because that's who are the ancient masters of altering consciousness, and those into martial arts and all the arts of divination, and, you know, the musicians as well. You know, the musicians like Mozart were considered by, you know, our mutual friend in Peru, considers Mozart to be a shaman, and you'll go on a shamanic journey with his music, and you will, especially with a bit of medicine in one's body. So yeah, it's looking at how we approach these things in a totally different way, and I feel we do need to encourage everybody to start embracing their own little ceremonies So that there's a familiarization with meditation at minimum, grounding minimum, with obviously the general detoxification of water, diet and exercise, and general good living, and dropping the Western culture and acknowledging the icky stuff. But to really truly everybody start embracing the medicines and treating food as a medicine and putting it to our heart, and maybe not setting an intention. It's another word spell that came to me through other people's data, being intentions. I'll try not to use that now. But when we're putting our magic upon something, holding it to our heart, we could call that an intention. I know, so putting our magic into it. But treating everything as that medicine, more and more sacred, more surrender, and then we can all begin to pick up the stronger tools safely and listen to those that have been through the use of these extra powerful tools of the entheogens, of the psychedelics. I prefer not to use the word psychedelic anymore myself because it infers psyche.
Yeah, okay.
So it keeps it quite up in the head as opposed to what it's all really about, which is about the heart. So if we view them as being an entheogen, which is the definition of that, as far as I know, is the facilitation of God. And that is a heart space, and that's the seat of the soul of our own being, our own God self within the heart, the soul. That's the level of this work, is to open up the heart. And then to see where that space then leads us within deeper further, and whom that then also opens us up to. Because if we're just operating up here, and we've got on our lower energy fields issues of emotional woundedness that we still haven't quite healed, and we're only operating from the brain and the pineal gland, and on a physical and on a fourth dimensional level, so 3D to 4D, lower 4D, not higher 4D to 5D, but on that lower level, we'll have a heart bypass going on, and we're not operating in a pure connection to Mother Earth from the heart directly through the root down to Mother Earth. And we're not operating from a true connection to source, because it all comes from the heart. So yeah, the word psychedelic, I prefer not to use it. But yeah, we need to look at the real, true experienced people to come forward to the researchers as well to say, look, you don't want to take these people into a clinical environment to take these substances with the artificial light and everything. Holy fuck, no. You want to be doing this in this tent here in Wales. Mm. You want to be doing it in this roundhouse over here that's not got a shitty floor. It's got a natural floor. You can really connect to the earth, or whatever setting. And you want to be doing it with this person in this set, with this music and this space setting as well. So these crystals for this purpose, these certain smoke, frankincense smoke used in a certain way, certain chants, certain sounds, certain frequencies, all make a difference. And if, as you say, if we're just going to put psilocybin into a tablet, which is what they will do probably, they extract the molecule.
You've got DARPA now trying to modify the molecules to take away the
psychedelic effect.
Try to take away the hallucinatory effects and everything. Oh, why are you messing around with stuff again? Stuff you don't need to be messing around with. They can't help themselves, can they?
Yeah, they're misunderstanding the fundamentals that McKenna pointed out. That the hallucinogen doesn't turn on hallucinations. It turns a hallucination off. Mm. So what we have around and what we see before us is potentially, I feel, a projected reality that's a false hallucination. And it's a collective one. It's very deep and it's very ancient, it's very clever.
I did a interview.
It's mainly false what we're looking at. And there's another layer. And when we take enough entheogens at a sufficient dose, you truly, truly see how clever, how deceptive that layer is over the entire reality, not just over our little perceptions. The entire reality has been hijacked to a degree. And that's really deep when we look at that. And that's the depth that, you know, when you go 5 grams and above with psilocybin, that's the level that you get to see. And then you get to also play games with the level of being that are doing that level of thing to our entire reality. And they're very ancient, very powerful. So we need to be acknowledging how serious this is and why these things need to be done in the correct way, with the correct tools present to be able to deal with what we, you know, have to maybe deal with in those scenarios of maybe someone going delirious. Now, in a clinical setting, if they are maybe testing psilocybin or maybe even ayahuasca, heaven forbid they don't do that, please, literally. But, you know, if you have someone go delirious within a medical doctor giving somebody ayahuasca or psilocybin, either which do the same job if they're putting the magical intention there and magical purpose of healing or seeing what it does or how it works. But then the person has a delirious scenario because of a demonic entity that is on the person without their knowledge, maybe cloaked. They've not had a clue they've got that problem with them. And then that's exposed within the ayahuasca session or psilocybin session within a hospital. What are they going to do? They haven't got a clue what they're dealing with. They won't have a clue what they're dealing with. And that being can get very angry and attached to other people, multiply. If they're videoing it, will be set within the video footage, ready to literally jump out of another device as a fragment of it. Anyone looking at the video can go into the computer system, MRI scanner, you know, these beings and stuff, they're infinitely intelligent and unbelievably adaptable and goes through this reality as like a soup, conduit of energy. And we've got to be so freaking careful. We've got to acknowledge that these things are very real and that we have to be treating the medicines and how we treat all of the healing with the utmost respect and containment, and that we don't, you know, expose a whole hospital's computer system to unleashing high spiritual forces because we're playing around with ayahuasca in a medical setting that they shouldn't be. You know, that would, you know, from a medical doctor's point of view, call me a schizophrenic, crazy person talking mad shit. You know, that's why I've got that diagnosis now. Because I say this stuff to the psychiatrists, because they have to appreciate what we're actually really dealing with when we're looking at the high level of crazy mental health issues. And that is that we're looking at some of that is entity possession and that level of stuff. So, you know, we've got to be so careful when we're looking at the use of all these substances indeed. So we can't just legalise them indeed, and we don't want anything legalised because that means it means paying tax because it's going through the legal system, and that supports war. So we can't support any legalisation whatsoever. We have to decriminalise everything and create a regulated and controlled market and responsible use of these substances. And the responsible way of doing so is to look at yoga centres and other healing spaces with connected healers that are obviously, you know, if they're into yoga and other spiritual practices, they're going to be of a state, and more than likely, as we know, majority of people that operate in those places are using these substances already in a responsible spiritual way. And that's the way that we then open up you know, the healing centres and retreats, you know, so we just legitimise what's already going on behind the scenes, but we create industry standards as well, so that not to industrialise this, but, you know, professional standards, should I say, not industrial, professional standards of being a professional practitioner of shamanic medicine or shamanic practices or spiritual medicine or spiritual practices, whatever label we wish to put on these practices. We need to make sure people are doing these things properly, and we need to make sure that they're investigated properly in the first place, so that they don't fuck up and they don't then say, oh, this is really bad for people. well, obviously, if you're doing these things in hospital, you know, I mean, luckily, thank God, and this is where medicine works beautifully, that the majority of all the experiments have been perfectly fine and showing great results, because the medicine spirits are going, we're going to make sure this is protected. But we've got to be very aware that if we continue to push our luck and just test these things in hospitals, we're going to start to get problems like entity issues, etc. Because then, you know, the spirit in the world, in the universe, is going to start to go, guys, you need to start to do this properly now. It's just a continuation of this circle, of this cycle where we as humanity, we've got a learning difficulty. The system, the way it works within us, is slowing us down at learning these things and implementing the lessons sooner and quicker. Though everything is on time, yes, we don't want to fall into anxiety over everything. But I feel we could progress a lot faster. I'm sure you do too, bro. But
yeah,
it takes a lot of
unity.
acknowledgement from us all that we've got this, you know, this resistance within us to implement these changes. But there's a lot that, you know, we can start to do now to really help shift the perception and hold those accountable as well. So, you know, holding the politicians accountable. So I'm pretty sure the universe would have arranged every single politician in this country already to have been contacted by some form of activist, and they would have ignored them. So we need all those people. We need somehow to find a way of communicating to all the activists that have contacted their politicians. If not, start to do so. Record what they're charging the politician with to investigate, and then once they have proof of the politicians' good findings and actually want to get involved, great. If not, once they've got the proof of the politicians' ignorance, we then have to look at just very simply going and arresting them ourselves. Maybe go to the police first, maybe not. Maybe just go straight, you know, get an innocent meeting set up with a politician about a problem with parking, or I don't know, and create some sort of, you know, easy thing that the politicians like to deal with, and then turn up there and arrest them, and, you know, ring 999 or find out how to do a sovereign arrest of another being. And we need to really start actually doing stuff like that and saying, yeah, I'm willing to take this person all the way to the highest court of the land to prove their negligence and their ignorance in their seat of power as such is creating harm in the world. And that's what we all need to just simply look at, is the implementation of natural law, which is to do no harm and take no shit. Yeah. And taking no shit means holding people accountable, including ourselves, if we are causing harm to ourselves or to others within consciousness. You know, we need to hold everything and everyone to account now, and balance all the energies out and bring everything out that needs coming out to be purged, so we can birth a new world and a new way forwards in a new paradigm where everything's been brought out to truth, to be healed, and then we can all go forward without any skeletons in the closet.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I appreciate what you're saying there. The stuff you were talking about earlier on will really resonate with people who've seen the Dr. Wong conversation, Mind, Reality and Consciousness, and also Becky Barron deprogramming the Matrix. And as standalones, especially some of the stuff Becky was getting into, for somebody who's never heard any of it, would be like, holy shit, what's this lady talking about? But the more and more people who are kind of on the same, you know, there's variations, but the themes seem to be coming to the table more and more. People's, you know, same experiences. There's something in that, and that's what we need to look into. And off the back of what you were saying there about kind of citizens' arrest, sovereigns' arrest, there is a lot of, and understandably, you know, John Wedger put it the other day in terms of, you know, when you have these very you know, special individuals who are able to work within the child abuse detective work, you know, these guys are the ones, and ladies, of course, are the ones having to, you know, review the evidence, look at the pictures, watch the videos, you know, obviously having to compartmentalize, but they have that ability to be able to do such. And, you know, hats off to them. Very, you know, admirable work to be able to do. But he was saying that when people are doing that, it's no surprise then that they want to bring back capital punishment. When you see those horrific things, you think that's not a human being right there. And, you know, I know you've made a few comments recently, so I wanted to kind of cover that ground about how do we go forward, Mark? I've read what you said, but it'd be nice to hear it from you about, you know, you're saying about these people being held to account. I think some of them need to be just locked up for the rest of their natural lives, don't they? All the infrastructure's in place ready for it. So, because, you know, putting the threat of death, you know, as John was saying last night, they don't really care. He said he thought when speaking to MPs and stuff, more light was going to be shone on the situation, more awareness raised, and it's just doesn't seem to be happening. But something will happen sooner or later. But how do we structure it, Mark? At the end of the day, you know, well, how do you see things transpire? How do you see things going? Where do you see this going?
Well, I feel that to instantly squash the reaction that the male ego has been programmed with, which is to hear of a paedophile, and I, you know, when I was younger, more plugged into the matrix, would have said the same thing possibly at some points in my life, would have been to just say, well, put a bullet in the head and put me in the ground. Now, that solves the physical issue there and then, but what you're actually doing, what we would actually be doing there, would be to just kill the physical vessel for a demonic entity. And the entity that is in control of that human being would then be free within the quantum space around here to then attach to another human being. So have we solved the problem by shooting them in the head? No, we have not. Are we solving the problem? Currently by locking them up in if they get prison time at all.
Yeah.
By locking them up in a place with other ones of themselves, not receive any healing, stay within themselves, infect all the people that work in that space, and then go out and then just be in the same possessed energy. So that's not working. So we need to look at what Brazil is doing, where they're sending the shaman with ayahuasca to the prisons. Now, I can't remember what type of inmates they were dealing with, but that's the way to do things. At the highest levels to begin with, they're the Queen, royal family, the MPs, all the Vatican lot, all the bankers, all the secret cabal, all the secret ones of the Vatican, all those guys need arresting by we the people, with the people representing police. And we need to put those guys at the very top of the pyramid into Faraday cages, for one, to contain their energy as much as possible, and other spiritual defense mechanisms. And then one by one, we need the most powerful shamanic practitioners in the whole wide world, with the most powerful ayahuasca possibly mixed with psilocybin and all the other medicines as well, over holistic healing, with huge fire, take those people through huge healing. At least 13 banking families, heads of them, and those bloodlines. We need to attack that witchcraft at the very top of its source. Then we can look at also at the same time simultaneously releasing everyone that's, you know, incarcerated for bullshit, monetary fraud and drugs and all this
victimless crimes,
yeah, all the victimless crime. And then we've got the space to contain all the paedophiles, who we already know who they are. The police don't have the time and the resources, bless them, to deal with them. And that was, you know, their intention to join the police, was to catch these evil fuckers. Blessings to those evil fuckers. But then we contain all the, you know, the nonces in the prisons, making Faraday cages within every single cell if need be to contain their energies. And then one by one we take them through a healing, and we see them vomit their evil shit into a bucket. And if you sat there with 5 grams in one's body and you observed that, you would see that shit coming out of their body behind closed eyelids. Or with open eyelids, you'd see it, smell it, feel it, and you want to sing to it. If you've got the shaman within you, you'd sing, and we help direct that shit to the fire, to Mother Earth, back to source. And that's how we deal with this shit. They're possessed by fucking demons, and it's exorcism. It is a true exorcism we need for these people. That's not to say that we can allow that person back into society again, but we can create a Truman show for them to walk about in.
I had exactly the same thought, Mark. I'm glad you said that, thank you, because, you know, they're trying to build these super cities, right? And they're trying to put us under these mega control grids. Thing is, they who need to be under the mega control grids, right?
Yeah, they're building their own prison. They're building their own prisons. All we've got to do is build a wall around certain parts of these cities, and we've actually got the perfect containment. Yeah, man, awesome. Perfect.
This is it. This is what I was thinking.
Yeah, they've built their own prisons, mate. That's fucking beautiful.
Well, I was thinking about this the other day, right? So as we know, this goes on. Perfect. This goes on, you know, with the, you know, the 1%, and it's bled down into kind of lower levels of society. But they're building these highly structured mega cities that they want to corral us all into with uber technology, where we're monitored 24/7 through 5G and all the rest of it.
I thought you meant the prison buildings earlier. Didn't think you meant the whole city. Yeah.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, this is what I'm saying. Now, some things are unforgivable, right? Like, you know, we talk about forgiveness, but some of the stuff I've read, and I'm not going to go into it now, but it's freaking horrific. But if we're talking about, you know, there's a fraction of human consciousness inside this meat suit, and something else has come in and is controlling it. And this is all going to be very outlandish for some people. I imagine for those people, they probably have already switched off by now, and that's absolutely fine. But for a lot of people, they will be able to resonate with this information. And what I'm saying is if you are, you know, entity attached, demonically influenced, and all the rest of it, then once that's been removed, then we're dealing with the human again, the human consciousness within inside the human, you know, the human vessel, the meat suit. So it's the same with the prison system now. If you kill someone, so whatever, you know, scenario, whether it was a crime of passion or a gangland killing or whatever it is, you're only going to serve, you know, 20 to 30 years, maybe 15 years. But in the prison system, there's a progression. You go from closed conditions, you know, 23-hour bang-up, semi-open conditions, to eventually you go to open conditions to prepare you for release back into society. And what I'm saying is if this is the case, and it's my understanding, I'm not sure if it's right, but it kind of makes a bit of sense to me that, you know, we're talking about demonic attachments and getting into like the whole electric universe stuff and all the rest of it. Yes, if someone comes back to the fold and says, you know, like Jay Parker, for example. Jay Parker, you know, you've heard of it, Jay Parker, right? Are you?
No, I haven't. Oh,
right. No, that's all right. I thought you might have seen his interview with Joe Lomax. 13th generation, Illuminati family. His programming broke down later on in life. Started remembering horrific things done to him by the family, horrific things that he had done, all the rest of it. And now he does EFT, tapping, healing, shares his journey, shares his story, and all the rest of it. Now, arguably, if his programming hadn't broken down and he was brought to account, then shall we say, if he was still under, you know, this demonic influence and doing what he was doing, or even if it's not demonic influence, perhaps we might be thinking of it as demonic influence or seeing it as demonic influence, when in fact it is. We talk about MK Ultra, the splitting of the mind, altars, and all this stuff. And there's a lot of information. I will be speaking to other people to get into a bit more depth on these things. But my point being is that if, so for example, you bring somebody in here and, you know, they go through the shamanic healing process, and, you know, it's monitored by large groups of people to see that, you know, whatever it is, we get more of an understanding, because we don't, there's disparate bits of information of people know this and that, but we bring it all together from both a, you know, a shamanic perspective. And also, I know you said not about science, but if you can observe that process where something has actually been removed, and you can observe it's been removed and transmuted, or whatever you want to call it, then we're left with the human being. So if that human being then, you know, whatever, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever you want to say, has then shown to be, or at least appears to be, you know, a legitimate, back to normal human being, you still run the risk of, you know, if they were let out into society, that, you know, there is something else in there hidden that we don't have the abilities, the powers, the technology to monitor, right? So the option then is you put them in their own open prison. They're building these mega cities and so then you can monitor them. So you can monitor. We can live free in nature and however we want to. We don't need to all this monitoring and all this bullshit.
Yeah,
but
that's definitely the way to do it.
They're the ones that need it.
Yeah, definitely. That's the way to do it, brother. That's the way to do it. It's a
locked off city, and it can be, it doesn't need to be restricted, but they can go there in this, mega city and be under the kind of monitoring and surveillance that they're trying to put us under. And then you live your life, the rest of your life under that kind of, and we can know. And then if there is, because I think about it and I get deep into things, as you know, Mark, and it's like, we've got the technology to read minds. We know about this kind of stuff. So, when they've gone through the healing process, you can use this kind of technology, but that's not to say I don't know what's above and beyond us. To think that we're the pinnacle of, humanity and consciousness and all the rest is quite arrogant. I don't think that's the case. As we know, there's plenty more above and beyond us. So that's not to say that, by doing these things and putting these kind of prisoners through these processes to heal them and fix them and all the rest of it, that's not to say that there isn't energy or consciousness or spirit, if you want to call it that. I don't tend to use that term myself, but that is able to bypass and deceive us on those levels. Do you know what I mean? So that was just thoughts I was having the other day. I thought they're trying to build these mega cities to corral us in. That's where they need to go.
And the warning comes in a Clockwork Orange at the end.
I need to rewatch that. Go on. I watched it years and years ago.
I think as far as if my memory serves me correct, at the very end he's sort of like saying, "Yeah, I'm healed," because they're giving that stuff that makes him puke when he wants to attack. And then at the end he gives a sinister smile, like, "Yeah, I'm all right now." Yeah, is he? Yeah. But this is the thing: we can never trust those people. That level of murderer, genocidal, rapist, maniac. They need to be in that controlled environment for the rest of their natural life and healed. So it stops that within consciousness itself, within the DNA and the genetics. Yeah. If they've had children, that when they are then healed, they heal themselves within those contained environments. It then takes the energy from their children and makes sure that their children are supported and they go through a healing too. So we stop it all on the lineage of everybody in this whole entire world, that we look at all the dis-ease. We find all the dis-ease within ourselves and we heal it. That's disease control. And we look at the sources of these diseases and see if it was man-made in a laboratory or if it was from nature. And then we can cut the sources off. And then within the 40, 50 years of all those people being healed within these controlled environments of the super cities, which turn into super prisons, whilst we're all free, the world changes around the outside, and all that stops within the genetics of our species, because we've actually acknowledged it all and contained it all and dealt with it in the best way possible, using the highest power tools we possibly can to accelerate this. Targeting the right people with it from the top down, and we can progress in a smoother way, without a doubt. But it can be peaceful, and
I think that's the only way.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are spiritually in a position, strength-wise, to start really taking on the political role as well more. Maybe, and the people that have been fighting the political war to step back a little bit and then learn more from the spiritual guys to balance those two, so that we, the people that are representing these people going forward in a political way, are doing so from a more spiritually protected manner, so that we can tackle the problems at hand. And a very good example of that is the United Patients Alliance. Who I've spoken to today, for a lady doing, I have to catch up on who they exactly are. I've only really had this correspondence this morning, but she's doing an amnesty for growing cannabis, and she's working with the UPA, United Patients Alliance. And I asked her, is a certain person still working with you guys? And she said, no, we got rid of him. and we're looking at, and they are promoting Grow Your Own now. So that's a huge change.
Good, it's really good.
So that is a really good, guided, timely, in synchronicity for this conversation, to show that we can really make changes, guys, that we the people can put pressure on all the organisations to get rid of the people that need to be got rid of, and put other people in place to create teams of people that are all sovereign but know what's right, or best practice, and start implementing it. And we just need to do the same in local politics. We just need to take a couple of people out and put a few conscious people in place of it. People that have worked with entheogens or psychedelics are going to be the best people. I strongly feel that when I marched off following the advice of Graham Hancock, that he felt anyone going into politics should take ayahuasca 10 times. I heard that, I thought, I'm going to have to do ayahuasca 10 times then and see what this is about. And yeah, we can attract all those people into our circles in political realm to be able to sit in those seats and give the power back to the people. And that's the thing that the shamanic medicine really can open up for us, is to show us that we're just a vessel, and we're channeling for spirit, or we're channeling for our higher self. And humbly, represent others and serve others, as opposed to just serving the self, which is all the ego does. And that's what we see when we look at most of these politicians. It's just a bunch of self-servitives. It's but yeah, multiple approach we need. But music, I mean, for more of the solutions, bro, and more of what I do myself, music is actually a huge key. Literally one of the biggest, most powerful things we can all do.
Yeah.
Engage in music and singing, and using that with our meditations. There's so much magic that we can invoke from going within the space within ourselves, and using music to do so. How are your meditations at the minute, bro? Are you listening to much music? What are you listening to at the minute?
I'm finding, it's funny you should ask, actually, because back in the day, I've always loved music. My friend Matthew, his older brother Richie, he had a massive wall, kind of racks of CDs back in the day, and I kind of got a lot of my influences there. And what I would tend to do then is lots of friends into different fields of music, where you just go around with a little dongle, and chuck some stuff on there. So I ended up having like about 3,000 albums, I think, on a hard drive. I've always had a really diverse taste in music. But what I'm finding now is, how technology is kind of corralling us. So, for example, everyone uses Google. So you type something into Google and you're just getting, the top searches. So it's kind of suppressing information. I'm finding the same on YouTube. So it's my own fault. I've been a bit lazy. What I have started doing is listening to, again, Radio 1. I used to listen to a lot of Radio 1 in the evening for specialist shows. So like Phil Taggart, for example, will do upcoming music, new bands, unsigned bands, all that kind of stuff. And that's how I keep it fresh. But with regards to like YouTube and stuff, I'm finding it just keeps looping the same old stuff around. So I'm having to sit here and think, I'm like, let me think of something else that I used to like and what I want to listen to. So with regards to music, I'm kind of just finding myself kind of recycling all the old stuff again, and trying to remember all the old bands I used to be into. And it's such a powerful memory evoker, isn't it? I find smell and music are the two real powerful. You're just there again in that moment, as if it was, and it's beautiful. With regards to meditation, I'm only meditating now when I'm out on my bike or when I'm walking. I'm not like actually sitting and meditating. I don't find that works for me. I just find that, like, I was over in North Swindon, I went to the gym the other night and just walked back, and it's like about an hour's walk. But because I've been so busy recording these podcasts, and I've been pretty heavily engaged with the laptop from kind of morning till night, really, that little hour walk, it was just nice, and there's stuff flowing through, and then it was just nice silent, bits of peacefulness, and then more information coming through. So yeah, I'm kind of doing my thing, doing my little bit, but you know, as always, we can always do more, can't we?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, because I mean, meditation can be many things. You know, painting is people's meditation.
Yeah, yeah.
Brushing the dog, or you know, one thing you could incorporate there is taking your shoes off. We walk.
Well, I like to go grounding. I've got a park just down the road, absolutely stunning, and it's literally a stone's throw away. Queen,
Right.
I think it's called Queen's Park. There's a big lake there, so I've been down there doing a bit of grounding because it's quite funny actually. When I was scrolling through these notes from the hospital, it doesn't help when you've got people working in these environments with very little knowledge of pretty much anything at all, really. So, for example, on the one note, it says, James still appears to be psychotic with beliefs that staff can mind control patients and that there is no need for this, as James believes he can mind control people for free if needed. James has also been observed walking barefoot through the mud as he believes this is his way of reconnecting with the earth. It's not my way. I didn't make this shit up. This is, you know, and it's just
science to back it up as well.
This is it, you know, and it's just these people have no, you know, you should at least, I think, in every mental health unit have some kind of holistic. Obviously, we know there aren't, and we know why there aren't. We know this. I'm not stupid. But I'm saying it should be, shouldn't it? Someone who has got that, we call it alternative now. It's not alternative. It's the original, isn't it? It's the ancient knowledge that's been suppressed and is now coming back to us through rediscoveries of quantum science and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and that's going to come. I mean, yeah, it's going to come from, you know, solid people that come from it from the mainstream, respected, and then find the alternative, which, as you say, is the original. Or it's going to be a few of us kind of maybe wackier ones that go into it from the wacky side to balance up with those other guys to find in the middle ground the best way forward for a transitional period. And, you know, to begin with, that's going to be one person going between 5 doctor's surgeries or 5 mental health institutions, to then training other people as they go on that journey, to then be the person at each one. And then within 10 to 20 years, each actual mental hospital is then a retreat instead.
There we go. See, that's what it's more about, isn't it?
Or even being closed down because it's another fucking horrible concrete building, and the best thing we can do is light it up, hydroponics, and grow weed in these concrete buildings. That's the best thing we can do, is turn it into beautiful lighted buildings to grow medicines in. And then we put all the people working in these environments actually in new cabins built in all the woodland that is deemed, well, we're not allowed to build in woodland, but we haven't got the money apparently to be able to manage the woodland, so all the woodlands are falling down because the trees aren't managed, and we've got all this lumber that needs actually felling to help support the other trees that could be used to build houses with, or buildings to provide proper mental health rehabilitation centres in all the woodlands to begin with. You know, why are we helping people heal in these horrible environments full of EMF energy and, you know, with mobile phone masts on the top of it because it's a government building, so therefore, yeah, you can stick a 5G mast on the top of this. Okay, yeah, excuse my friend, but that must be the way these people unconsciously think. Or, you know, we need to, not we need to. It'll be a beautiful day when, you know, we can truly get this level of information out to the people that really need to make these decisions. But how do we do that? I mean, I'm continuously contacting the local newspapers and the local TVs, and they just ignore me. Even though, you know, stood in the general election 2015, and I want to stand in the next general election, they're still just ignoring me. Whenever I send something through, like, you know, asking for every penny of my tax back, literally from the politician, said, look, you know, pass this on to HMRC, I want every single penny of my tax back. You're supporting arms sales to Saudi Arabia and you're supporting Israel. You're terrorist supporters. So I want all my tax back. And I haven't heard a single word back from him, and I haven't heard a single word back from the press. And me standing there in that email saying, I'm going to use this against you to stand against you in the next general election, brother. For me as an individual, you can feel my frustrations there, probably.
Of course, yeah.
To scream all about it as much as possible, like for them to read all about it, like in that beautiful song.
Yeah.
To stand there proud as loud as a lion, shouting that to the government, and still the local newspapers don't want to know. It's like, come on, guys, we need to really start actually being serious about this now. We need to start acknowledging these politicians, if they'll acknowledge the trails in the sky. Such a simple one. I'm sure you saw that post of mine on social media, brother. But send a picture of that pentagram trail in the sky to your local politician, all of us, and say, yo, sister, brother, MP, whatever your name is, does this look normal to you? Yes or no? Please answer yes or no to these questions. Give them a yes or no answer.
Nice and simple.
Does this look normal to you? Should this be in the sky? Will this block the sun? Does this block the sun? List of that 10 very simple yes or no questions that they've got. I'm just asking the same question in a different way. Yes or no? And then depending on their response, we've got them on a criminal charge instantly, a crime against humanity. That whatever those things are in the sky, unless you're ignorant fool, we know they block the sun, and that's a crime against nature. So that's bare minimum straight away. We can all get politically active in that one.
Yeah, it is this kind of
fluoridation of water as well. If you live in a fluoridated area, approach the MP as well, so to say, look, I don't consent to this being in the water.
But on that point, Mark, if I may just quickly, I think people are, I certainly used to be misguided on this whole fluoridated water issue, because don't forget, the large majority of people fluoridate their own water every single morning, every single night when they brush their teeth with the fluoride toothpaste. So we're fluoridating the water for them. People say, oh, I live in an area with unfluoridated water. You think, oh, do you really? Oh, do you really? All right, then. Go and speak to 10 of your neighbours and find out how many use non-fluoridated toothpaste, for example,
Yeah. I mean, where we come from with where we've got to approach the water companies from, although they do get so nasty that if you just refuse to pay them,
I just don't pay it. I just don't pay it. I've never paid for water in my life.
Yeah, depending on the company, but they threatened actual proper bailiffs for us.
That's bullshit. It's nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, they got, it was one of those things I had to concede.
Yeah, I've already had the letter. It's just a debt collection agency, and they have no power whatsoever. And if you give me clean water, yay, but what? Paying for water? You're taking the piss.
And this is the thing that they were saying about this safe level. I said, well, what's the safe level of aluminium?
Yeah, here we go.
They cannot say there's a safe level because the psychiatrist that I see says, the aluminium shouldn't be in the body, and yes, it causes mental health problems.
Yeah.
So but if we all make sure that somehow we need to network this somehow, bro. We need to make sure that every MP has been approached on all these very basic fundamentals of the truth movement. So we all know the fundamental basics of what we need to approach these politicians and people above them about. And we need to hold them to account. So we just ask them the very basic questions. And then from there, we can then hold them to account. And then we can actually start looking at going to the police if someone doesn't want us personally go and arrest the politician. Going to the police and saying, look, this person needs arresting. And we also need to follow up with an amnesty as well. And we all need to, and even if you don't grow cannabis, go to the police and say, you're growing cannabis.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be fucking beautiful. If we had 10 million people that don't grow cannabis, go and tell the police, I now grow cannabis. What are the police going to do? And we're so overwhelmed with people ringing them up and walking in to say, I grow cannabis. It's just a joke. But we need to somehow look at the fundamental basics of all this stuff and really hold these people to a very simple account. So that for me is one of the main missions for myself over the next little period. It's probably why I haven't had a lot of people come through to myself for shamanic healing. I feel I've been on a big personal journey in my last couple of months to really prepare my boundaries, my foundations, and probably build my spiritual boundaries of defence up to be able to walk forward in more of this political way over the next little period, whilst trying to free myself from the debt slavery matrix and get more off grid. But yeah, to be able to put myself in more of a position to be able to facilitate off grid living in the as much as possible in the way that we all need to really start to look at now, and start to detoxify as much as possible this environment and the way in which we are living our lives. It's a big old mountain. It's so much different rabbit holes. We can bounce around between truths all day long. It's,
yeah.
it's really, but,
going back to what
yeah.
you were saying there, Mark. Just going back to what you were saying there about putting people on notice and contact. I'm pretty sure there is a directory of all the email addresses. I think there's only about 600 MPs in the UK. I think it's about 600. I may be wrong. I'm pretty sure there's a directory with all their email addresses in. Well, that's kind of an important little tool right there for this kind of stuff, where when they start seeing the cohesion and the unity of people actually, people are actually starting to come together, and that if there is an MP's directory, surely there must be a similar directory for all the different chiefs of police, or I'm not sure at what level you get up to with regards to kind of counties. I think do they have commissioners? I'm not sure, but whatever it is. These directories need to be kind of a lot more accessible, or more awareness raised of them, I should say, so that people go, actually, yeah, because sending an email is nothing, is it? And even if they're just templates.
I mean, it's taking actually, actual time to meet with these people, send them an email, see how they are. I mean,
first of all, to see if you get a response, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I should say, to help fill people viewing this of my background, I've obviously been hounding the local MP here for years. For a very, very long time, there were very, very serious issues, and I've been ignored, and I'm totally frustrated, as you can imagine, as you can tell.
Yeah.
And I am willing to take the law into my own hands to be able to be a bit of a stooge on the stage to show people what we really need to actually start doing. But to start engaging with your local politician, there might be a good person. Out of those 650 of those people are actually really good souls. They're just being fooled. But they're really, really good people that haven't got any attachments on them. They've survived that witchcraft, or whatever oath they have to sign up in that space down in London. Somehow their guardian angels have kept them safe through all that shit. There could be 50 very, very good MPs out there. And we need to find them and engage with them. But also find the ones that are complete, acting like complete possessed morons. But to do that, we need to engage with them. So yeah, ask these fundamental questions and seek to sit with them and talk to the police as well. Because when you actually do face up straight to the police, like I did with that sergeant here, they're just normal people, and they really do care, and they really do want the wrong people to be the wrong ones to be put away in jail, and the good people to be free. That's what they've originally signed up to. And they know themselves that the police force has got to go through that purge. So it goes back to being a community, community arm of the community. But yeah, we need to engage these people. And the next port of call for myself, I'm going to say this on yourself to everybody, but I am going to write on the doorstep of Plebgate Andrew Mitchell, who's the MP here. I'm going to grow a little cannabis seed, so germinate it, so it just has the first 2 little leaves coming out. And I'm going to plant that in some compost on his doorstep. And right on the floor, yet another Tory cannabis farm. Hashtag Chalk of Truth.
You love it.
And I'm also going to put maybe a laminated sign underneath his name plaque, with some very specific channeled information, so we say, I'll sit there with a good dose of cannabis and see what comes through the heart's voice of what we can write to an MP when we're doing a stunt on his doorstep. But I'd also like to go over to the police station and over the road from where his office is, and give another little sapling, a little plant, and leave it for the Chief of Police of the West Midlands Police, and say, look, we need to have a serious conversation. You know, we really, really do. The police have ignored me when I've asked them for advice on THC levels for driving. So I said, look, I could be over in Amsterdam facilitating a cannabis ceremony, smoke the biggest amount of cannabis ever, and then be back in England the day after, driving around with THC levels through the roof, but I'm not stoned. And all they did was send me the link to the government guidelines, and that just said the bullshit level.
Which is what? Zero tolerance, is it?
No, there is a level. There's a legal limit.
Is a level.
There's a legal limit. How can you have a legal limit of an illegal substance? It's just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need to strongly look at that side of things as well. But
well, I need to go and see my GP soon to discuss that if I'm using high amounts of CBD oil, which I might be, I might not be, that's irrelevant. But if I'm using high amounts of CBD oil, a lot of CBD oil it's allowed to have 1% THC, right? Isn't it? Is that the case in the UK? I think it's allowed up to 1% THC. So if you're taking 5,000 milligrams of CBD oil a day, which is quite a lot, so granted, but that then, by definition, leaves you with potentially traceable levels of THC in your system. But CBD is legitimate, so I'm going to say to him, well, I can't risk driving around with these potential levels of THC, but if I show you my medication that I take, my self-medication of CBD oil, will you write me a letter to carry with me in the vehicle while I'm driving? So if I do get pulled over by police, they understand that I'm using medication, and a consequence of that is that there will be potentially traceable THC levels in my system, although not enough to make me incapable of driving or anything like that. It's obviously going to be like, piss off, mate, nice try. But I'm going to put it on him, and I'm going to see what he says. He's a nice fella. He's a lovely fella, but very misguided, bless him. You know, tried giving me antidepressants. Very, very low side effects on these ones. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, thinking I already know he's full of shit. As soon as I went and got home, I'm like, let's have a little look. I put it on my Facebook thread. It's like the list of side effects. I'm like, you call that informed consent? And you know, I'm not going to cast aspersions on him. At the end of the day, he's in the matrix like we all are. But you know, it's bullshit, isn't it? It is bullshit.
Yeah. It is amazing the solutions that we're working with at present, and the solutions that we've been hidden from.
This is it.
Well, that's the biggest part of the veil lifting. Really, is we need to lift the veil off the solutions.
Yeah.
Even if we didn't expose any one of the nasties, and we just lifted the lid off the solutions and implemented all the solutions, all the nasty things would just disappear anyway. It's a crazy time, but yeah, if everybody can do their bit from the heart, we will get there, and we'll get there pretty soon too.
Yeah. We'll get there. That's all I'm trying to do, is just get a bit of unity on the go by putting all these kind of, I know so many people, Mark, beautiful people like yourself, into your own specific fields, your own kind of, paradigms and all the rest of it. And it's only by bringing it all together and putting it all out there for people to see, everyone's different, but we can all work together on one level or another, regardless of, perceived skill set or perceived knowledge or perceived intelligence. None of that's important. That's not what it's about. It's just about, if you want good, the good will come, but we have to work together because we're so bloody divided. Well, Mark, it's been a wonderful chat, brother. I think we're up to the 2-hour mark there nearly, so we won't drag it out, but what we will do is promise we will be back for another one real soon, and you and I should have an ongoing narrative, and we can catch up maybe in a month or so and see where we're at and what's going on, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, man. Well, I'll tell you what, bro, should we do some healing remotely over video calls together?
Can do.
And then meet
sure.
as well, do a ceremony.
Well, we've done a few rapé ceremonies in the past, haven't we? So we can go a little bit deeper, Yeah,
we can have a look at what depth of ceremony you wish to go to.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll go through that and then have another chat on video so we can share.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, that sounds good.
The process and what comes out of us, maybe.
Yeah.
What comes through us, maybe.
Nice. Well, I might have potential possibility to come to Birmingham definitely at some point next month. I'll have to speak to my partner in crime, my number one supporter, and see what date. But yeah, that'll be fantastic. And as you say, we can follow up then and show the other people what's going on and what we're up to.
Yeah, man. And in the meantime, we'll do some remote work over Skype.
Beautiful.
I've got to put faith in that. In fact, for everybody else, do please put faith if you've got the ability to sing or to play music, or even just sharing a meditation with a recorded song with another person, just by remotely with earphones in, the two of you count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, press play on a YouTube video together, and just hold space together. So if you've not got a musical talent as such activated yet within you, because everyone does have that musical talent, play music within themselves. But if we're not quite activated that yet, we can share that music of somebody else or of ourselves with each other, and that invokes such great healing and such great magic. That is the true essence of remote work from my paradigm. And if everybody does practice that, we can see through the music, through following where the sound takes us, just follow the sound. Not listening to any stories, just following that sound to the heart. From there, we can truly operate our own healing within our own sovereignty, our own consciousness. And then from there, we become the masters of our own universe, and magical stuff can happen at different levels. And yeah, we'll have to chat lots more about magical experiences and
yes, indeed.
When we're tackling these issues, the positive, amazing magic, literal telepathic and musical magic that can happen. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, everybody pick up.
Beautiful indeed. Beautiful indeed. Thank you, brother. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be awesome. Was there anything else you wanted to round off to, Mark? Anything else you wanted to revisit or cover? Or you could tell people about your links to your shamanic awakening? Just on
smoking.
Yeah.
When I roll now, I'm inhaling pure herb.
Right, I saw that the other day, yeah.
Yeah.
What mix are you using there, Mark?
Well, I'm half cannabis.
Yeah.
And then this is raspberry leaf and marshmallow leaf with sage as well.
So marshmallow leaf, I know, is what they use for the spice, or at least some variations of it. They infuse it onto the marshmallow leaf. So marshmallow leaf is quite a mellow substance to smoke on its own, isn't it? It's not very harsh or anything like that.
Yeah, it's very smooth to smoke. It's very fluffy. Nice. Obviously, there's other mixes you can get as well. I mean, I've got another mix with mugwort, catnip,
nice.
All the different herbs. You can have a play around with different herbs. Sage, grown in gardens, or lavender, and put a little bit of lavender. Lavender is very powerful. It might overpower the taste if you weed, if you put cannabis in there. But yeah, have a play around with different herbs, and then we can all, if we address that relationship, to round off back to where we started to, we can address that relationship with tobacco, and then look at that relationship with cannabis, and yeah, we can really help shift a lot of our perceptions just by working with those things in a slightly different way.
Beautiful. And where can people find you online, Mark? I'll put the links in the description box, but if you want to tell people.
Just on Facebook at the moment. I need to get a website. I've got a computer at the moment, so yeah, I need to work on computer tech and other stuff as well. I might look at crowdfunding as well to put together a lot of didgeridoo work.
Awesome.
Create like a didgeridoo den, maybe one in Birmingham, one in Wales.
Well, I'm looking forward to the Didge, because the Didge is new to your retinue since we were last together. So we didn't have a chance to, or I certainly didn't have a chance to experience the power of the Didge up close and personal, especially during ceremonies. I'm really looking forward to that. It should be awesome.
Yeah, bro, it's getting more and more powerful now. It's something takes over you when you open those instruments up fully. It is the spirit of the instrument. If we do correctly, the spirit of that blackthorn tree will be in my body as one, and then another spirit maybe play through me as an ancestor of the didgeridoo.
So is the didgeridoo, my understanding is it is exclusive to the natives of Australia. Is that the only place it comes from? Is it literally, or have you found?
I don't think so, no, because if you look at, I mean, the Australian ones are termite eaten.
Okay.
So that there, you can see where the termites have eaten, and then they'll just put beeswax. They'd have found one originally with a small hole to be able to make a noise down it.
Yeah.
And that's how they'd have discovered the didgeridoo in Australia, where you've got bamboo. Naturally, would have been picking up and going go 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 go, making noises down there. Then naturally, you're going to have done that. So wherever bamboo grows, anywhere where we're going to have had a tube, the plant and the ancestor or the spirit within us is going to guide us as a species of discovery to pick up a tube, boop, 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 ooh, it makes an echo, or go into a cave with that tube and then go, this sounds really good.
Yeah. And
then one of your other brothers or sisters goes, and then they start blowing down the tube, and then all of a sudden you've got, full-on techno being played in a cave.
Beatbox championships.
Just with a tube. So that's the origins of the blowing down pipes. And then you find someone blowing down it and discovering the flute.
Quality.
But yeah, and then blowing a piece of glass between your fingers, creating a reed, and then you create a reed instrument. And they're going to be ancient without doubt, like the harmonica. And I don't know if you've heard me describe the harmonica moment, where I couldn't play the harmonica, but I picked it up just to use as a drone instrument. Looking in the mirror, seeing the image of a Christ-like figure looking back at me, which is really weird if that ever happens to people. I'm sure that will resonate with a lot of people. When you look in the mirror and you see that sort of reflection in a mushroom ceremony, it's very, very sacred, and you're in presence of very high consciousness. And I went into a trance state just blowing through the harmonica as a drone instrument, watching the moon come over some sand dunes. And then a channel opened within me, and I played the harmonica like a pro, absolute pro, for an hour, solid.
That happened to me.
Full on music. And I observed myself outside of my body doing that. So I have, from my experience now, without any doubt, the knowledge that we all can channel great musical spirit and use it for very, very, very powerful tasks and healing of ourselves and helping shift entire layers of reality as well. Helping hack through that, this perception of reality that's projected upon us all of the collective, and we can help hack through all those tentacles of the witchcraft and the sorcery that's placed across this collective consciousness. And music is definitely the healer, one of the biggest healers out there. So pick up the musical instruments, and first of all is rekindling that musical spark. And I've gone through the same process yourself, bro. But you go back to the music, because I turned off the music for a few years before 2012. And then my first sit-down meditation was to sit down on a rock on the beach of Ibiza. I was on holiday. I went for a jog early in the morning, music in my ears, earphones, sat on a rock. That was my first proper meditation. So but from there onwards, to obviously be where I am now, I can safely say that if we all pick up that music and use it like a lightsaber, we can hack through everything that we need to hack through in this reality, and dance and love and enjoy life, man.
That's what it's all about, brother. What a lovely note to finish the podcast on. Thank you, buddy. Just a quick one, though, just to confirm what you were saying there. My mate Danny was down Stonehenge the other day for the solstice, and the psychedelic meetup group that I kind of know. And he never picked up a drum before. I think he was in altered state, where it was mushrooms, or I think it was mushrooms. Picked up the drum, had never picked one up before, and was just boom, as if he said himself. It just felt like he was channeling something. So, there's something in that, isn't it? And what a lovely note to finish on. Well, Mark, thank you again, brother, for spending time. You and I shall meet up very soon, and yeah, we'll have an ongoing narrative with regards to what we do together. So have yourself a wonderful day, brother. Take care, yeah?
Yeah, man, definitely. We'll talk very soon, bro. Peace to everyone.
Awesome.
Love.
Take care. Thank you,
Be
guys.
safe, man.